Hi, my name's Sean, and I'm one of the founders here at Gooey. And I'm going to try to give you an overview of what we're trying to build. We imagine a future in Gooey where most of us are either prompt writers trying to get these great AIs to basically do the stuff that we want it to do, and that many of the ways that we differentiate ourselves is by connecting that AI to other interesting AIs or our own custom data sets or all of the other great kind of innovation that's happening across the wider technical and soon everything ecosystem. So we've built Gooey as an orchestration layer, as a low-code orchestration layer so that our team and many others can build what we think of as these little workflows, these little simple versions of AI recipes that consist of a little bit of LLM prompts and connections to many other models, and that we can then take advantage of all of the innovations that are happening across the generative AI universe. And so I'll try to show you what we mean by that. And so if you see here, we view the world through this metaphor of workflows. As I said, these little collections of LLM prompts and settings and models, and I'll show you what that means. And for us, the thing that we do is we want to be able to access all of the most interesting models, be they private or open source. So we have a billing model. So each time you run a workflow, it costs credits. And then we use those credits to basically pay either private AI models like OpenAI or PaLM, or to run any open source model on our own GPU and hosting infrastructure. And so I'll give you a sense of what a workflow looks like here. This is among our simplest. This is just the LLM workflow. And here you can see, okay, I can take, a short prompt, write a high school essay on the history of America. And then I can do things like say, I want this to run across, these 4 different language models, and I want to compare those results. And then you can see the credits change. And then I can change some settings, and I can say how many times I want to do this, what's the creativity, et cetera. Additionally, one of the things that we think is so important is that we can share these things. And so, if an organization or a person wants to, they basically can make what they've done public. And so here are basically examples of useful prompts that we or other people have run. And then every time you do a submission or every example that you see here can also be accessed via an API. And it's really easy to just go down once you sign up and get an API key. And then finally, every time you make a change or you do a tweak, you can see in your history with that run all of the stuff that you've done. And so we take this basic model of the workflow, and then we can apply it to a whole bunch of other things. And so here, we also do things like vector embedding. So we can basically take any document, here's the history of Porsche, and then I'm asking to write a detailed and useful summary. And this is actually using LangChain underneath. And so you can go and you can change the prompts to see how does it combine it. And this is all about, for us, demystifying kind of what these LLMs are doing. They're really just, essentially doing a search, combining those things, and then this merge instruction is telling the LLM how to do that. And again, all of the examples and APIs and everything else is here. And then so, we allow you to basically import stuff into those vector databases, right, in real time. So we allow you to do things like, connect to any Google Doc, but you can also do things like a contact lookup. So you can call out to an existing API and so get, say, an email address and then use that to find the photo of somebody and then make a picture of them. And we've also got Search SERP. And Search SERP is just another way of saying, hey, we can search the internet. And so in this particular example, what we're doing is we're just searching out, find a simple vegan carbonara recipe, but limiting that to Bon Appetit, and then using those results and loading them into a vector DB in real time, and then using those results to basically come up with the answer. And so if you go down to the details section, you can kind of, again, unpack what's happening here. So we took this query, we basically did in a search query, we got back a set of organic results, and you can see the snippets associated with each one of them. We combine those into a big prompt, right, that you can basically go ahead and edit up here in the settings. So you can take this task instruction. And then, we take all of those results and then we send that over to the LLM model of your choice to basically go ahead and summarize that. And then we list all of that, with their sources, and we, basically say, here's the citations associated with that. So this really gives you something that's very similar to, frankly, what like Bing plus ChatGPT does, where it's using the Bing APIs to search out on the internet and then pulls that back and then just summarizes that. But you can do that for your own website. But the fact that you can change the LLM prompt means you can do things, and you can see this in example, that you can create a quiz, you can create a verifier, you can basically do anything you want with the results of a search query that come from the internet. And that gets to be really incredibly powerful. So in addition to that, LLMs and vector DBs, which I think, frankly, a lot of people are doing out there, we also host abstraction layers for all of the most interesting speech recognition and translation models. And so here, if I go into speech, we've got, basically the ability to just copy in a YouTube, basically video here. And this one is, I think, in Hindi, if you'll excuse the ad. And then, excuse me. Basically, you can see that we can have a variety of the most interesting speech recognition models here. And so we're hosting Whisper from OpenAI, but also some fine-tuned flavors of it from, A for Bharat, which is Bashni, and, some of the work that they've done for Indic languages, but also the best of the Google Chirp APIs too. And this gives us a really wide set of ability to translate virtually anything. And so if you've got a request for some other open source model that we don't have yet, it's really pretty trivial for us to go ahead and add it in here. And then we also combine this with, you can tell us the spoken language, but here we also combine that with all of the translate options. And so, we support, if you go over here in terms of our translation pieces, a whole bunch of the best of the translation services from Wikimedia and new translation services that are coming out from Meta and others too. And so again, we're trying to take all of the best, most interesting services out there and really expose them in some abstracted way for anybody that wants to use us. And so if we continue this forward, you can then combine all of that translation and speech recognition goodness, and then we allow you to do this as well in an aggregated way for YouTube, right, as well. And so here, this is an interesting recipe where we're basically just taking a YouTube URL and then unpacking what playlist it's a part of, and then adding that into a Google spreadsheet. And then on top of that, you can then do summarization. So we're doing these 3 steps, and you begin to get the power of what it means to chain all of these things together. So we're first looking at this YouTube URL, pulling out the playlist, taking essentially a speech recognition model, right, that you see here to pull out the transcript of that, pushing all of that into essentially this Google spreadsheet, and then running LLMs over it to basically do the translation and then also do the summarization. And so this allows us to do things like synthetic data creation on any YouTube playlist, which ends up being really useful for what I'm about to get to next. And so what really useful are the Copilot pieces, but we'll get there. So finally, in addition to that, we also do the same abstraction for text-to-speech engines, and we also do it for image generation engines. And so if you come in here, one of our most popular recipes is really you can take any prompt and you can say, hey, I want to run this over 10 or 12 different image generation engines. And then you can do a sort of similar thing also for animation engines. And so again, we're just trying to make this really simple where you can take a set of prompts, put it in, and then in this case, I'm doing, basically specifying the frames that I want to basically make an animation on a busy street in Mumbai. And so I hope you see that, this is essentially the base layer of these abstractions across many of the most interesting generative AI models that are coming out. And we are giving you the keys to use all of them. But then, what is it that you can then build on top? And so obviously all of these things are exposed as REST APIs, and we have customers that go ahead and use that. You can see here. But we also allow you to basically build bots on top of this. So we've got Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram today. We'll have Slack hopefully by the end of July, and then IVR and Telegram coming soon after that. And so what that then allows is basically for people to go ahead and take all of these abstractions, and then in the case of Farmer Chat, which we did with our partner Digital Green and was presented at the UN in April, we basically have made a bot for Indian farmers and the mentor extension agents that they have that works in multiple languages that essentially gives people advice. And so, to give you a sense of what that looks like, I can ask any question here, and you can run this on WhatsApp or inside the page. And you can get a little sense of like, what is that interaction, that you can basically record any voice clip in one of 6 languages. We then go ahead and search, all of the vector databases in real time that you saw before, and then we give you back answers. But frankly, the most interesting for me, the most exciting part of this is that, you can go see this workflow. And that's what this is here, where you can see these are the documents that Digital Green is basically making up that knowledge repository. Here's a sample question. If you come in here into the settings, you can see the prompt that really defines the bot's personality. If you want to describe the language that the user is using, you can do that here. If you want to describe what is the voice character that you see back, you can do that here too. And then finally, all of the task instructions. And so then, again, it gets really useful to see, great, this is how other organizations that have chosen to make these things public, how do their bots work? What is the documents that they're using to basically give this thing intelligence? Or what is the setting? What are the settings they have? What are the LLMs? And then it's then really trivial to, if you go over to the integrations tab, to hook it up to a Facebook page. And again, very quickly start demos. So in addition to that, as I said, you can go onto the Gooey website. If you go to Explore, you can see all of the recipes. We've got 20 across this whole generative AI universe. And then, we also offer kind of meta services on top of these. And so some of the stuff that we're really excited about is this comparative workflows. So here, we envision, like, if you think about what we're doing is we're chaining together really long sets of generative AI tools from many different vendors. And so, of course, there's a lot that can go wrong. And so what we've built with our comparative workflow tools is we essentially ask our partners to say, great, here's a set of 50 inputs, for example, hey, questions from, audio questions from Telugu farmers. And then here's a human-created great expert answer, and we call that the golden answer. And then what we do is we then have automated testing where we can take a given workflow, which is just a run, right, that you see on our site. And we then compare how close, given that input of that audio question, is the bot created the answer to the human answer. And then we can change things. We can change things like the source documents, the prompts, a new translation model, a new LLM, whatever. And then we go ahead and we quantitatively compare how similar are those answers. And again, we quantitatively compare that via an LLM. And so that allows us to essentially make changes to these long pipelines and then quickly assess how well does it work against our test bank of questions? Does it cause regressions? And we think this is really valuable. In addition, in the Copilot space, we offer charts and analytics and built-in feedback tools. We also offer, again, meta-analysis. You can take a look at conversations and try to pull out structured data from them. And that gets to be really useful if you want to push all of this data back to your own data stores. Finally, the thing that's coming in August that we're quite excited about is we'll support function calls. So, through our LLMs, if we get to a point where we think, not unlike what ChatGPT extensions do, where we think there's some external data that would be relevant to this, we'll make a function call out to that and then pull that back into the script to integrate data that pushes down through. So I hope this gives you a little sense of what you can do with Gooey and kind of how our whole system works. I would encourage you to go check out gooey.ai/explore, any of those recipes there. Everybody gets 1,000 credits to start. It's about $10. Most of the runs that we have are somewhere between 5 to 10 cents each. And so hopefully you can get a really deep sense of, with your own documents, with your own prompts, do the tools that we have work well for you. Can't wait to see what you build, and I hope this is useful. Thanks so much.